morning, this is Simon from the brackets here at South Sea Cars and Coffee. Another incredible San Clemente Winter's Day, as you can see behind me, and we had a great turnout of cars. We're going to look at those in just a moment. Thanks very much to the outlets for letting us be here, and also to Ruby's for bringing out the coffees and the donuts. Let's swing the camera around and have a look what we've got here today. Okay, so starting off, we've got my Camaro, we've got James's Camaro. Then we have an absolute wonderful car that belongs to a gentleman by the name of Jim. This amazing Gullwing Mercedes has been in his family. It was actually his father-in-law's car since new, I believe. Just amazing, the interior. If I'm going to have a look around, but I wouldn't be surprised if we don't make this car of the week. Gus's GT3, David's beautiful Ferrari, another Ferrari, a couple of them lined up along here. Audi R8. Let's have a look. This is the V10 engine. This is, of course, actually a engine that was developed by Lamborghini, I believe. So great mechanicals in this car. Michael's 458 Italia, McLaren. We've got a couple of really lovely Aston Martins alongside of each other. This one, of course, is Paul's great car. It's actually for sale at the moment. If anybody's looking for a great car, and they've just gone through all the mechanicals on that. Really lovely silver and white Corvette here. Beautiful looking car. Carrera Lancia, really interesting car. Anybody who watches the Grand Tour, that's of course the guys out of Top Gear that are now doing their own show on Amazon Prime. They did a feature on the Lancia rally cars back in the 70s, and the tricks they used to do to beat Audi with the Quattro system was quite amazing. They were a really strategic team. 914 GT4, really bright yellow. A few Porsches through here. We've got another GT4 here, another one, and another Porsche. We let these guys all line up in the first row. Maserati, decent spoiler on the back of that beautiful AMG. Ford GT belonging to Jay. This really wonderful Ferrari, this 365 GT 2+2, such beautiful lines, and a couple of Vipers and a GTO on the end. Over this side we've got a couple of Corvettes, a Hyundai, a Mustang, another Mustang, GTR Skyline, really nice looking Corvette, another Skyline, McLaren in the beautiful orange. This car that was built for movies, Jaguar. This really wonderful car that was built, which is actually the morphing of, it's a Corvette Nomad, so it's a Corvette front end, and it's actually running the rear end of a Nomad or a station wagon. So it's a really interesting car that's been built up to morph these eras of Corvette and Nomad together. Really beautiful. Moving along, we've got a couple of 914s next to each other, a Cobra replica. Three really wonderful combis, the first two of which are actually for sale. Really nice looking
oh, you're
combis.
filming exotics?
Exactly. Great looking cars. Really lovely looking Alfa Romeo Pantera, that Ford 351 in there. And the thing that actually made it hard for Pantera to continue was they couldn't get enough of those transaxle gearboxes to build them back in the day. Saturn Corvette, another Corvette, another one C7. Wonderful little MGA, some classic British lines. If you were here a couple of weeks ago, you would have seen this same body of car that somebody had fitted, a guy called Keith who made it Car of the Week, fitted a supercharged small block Chev in it. So when you look at this little car, this classic British sort of mark of sports car, and imagine somebody taking that and putting it on a Corvette chassis with a Corvette rear end and a supercharged small block, absolutely incredible. Blows my mind to think of the engineering that went into that. Another Cobra replica, which is lovely, really nice Ford Hot Rod. This is really nice. Look at this, really clean New York plates on it. How cool is that? Roberts Celine, of course, changing colours on it as we go through here. Mustang with supercharger on the top, and a couple more Mustangs over here. We've got the other Mustang guys over this side. lined up. Regulars, we really appreciate their support and coming out. Great. Another Mustang running a supercharger, and another one. Great old Mercedes-Benz 2-door Riviera. This is kind of cool, isn't it? Running an old V8. Look at that. Skylark. 392 Hemi in that Dodge, old Chevy truck. Bronco. Another combi here. Beetle oval window, which is great. Great old hot rod. Another oval window. And another Porsche 914. Another little 914. Mustang with a supercharger. Really nice looking Porsche over here. Great colour scheme. This looks the same colour as the current model of Porsche is available in a colour called Chalk, and I could be wrong, but I think this is exactly the same colour as they still provide. It's a wonderful, wonderful colour. Just suits this shape and style. Another nice Riviera sitting there. Really nice looking 67. Of course, we can tell it's a 67 by the corner windows. Camaro, RS, SS. Another Beetle, very cool looking 34 hot rod. 34, of course, easy to tell by that swooping front grille. The 32 was round at the bottom. 34 had that sloping sort of front. It's really iconic. Running a small block Chev in there. Serious roof chop on it as well. It's a great looking car. Great looking car. Because there was this style, and then there was the 3 window, of course, which sort of swooped down. There was a couple of different styles of 34s. I think they're the best shape of hot rod around. I think they look great. Really nice Corvette. The old and the newer C6, of course. Another Porsche. This thing's kind of cool with the spotlights on the front. Mustang. And over here we've got a really nice looking 56 Chev, part of the Tri-5. If you're ever unsure if it's a 55 or a 56, really easy to tell. 55 has sort of moon shaped or semicircular, like a fingernail moon front indicators. The 56 had those rectangular front, and of course 57 they went to a far more extreme fins on it, so really easy to tell. Ferrari, another Mustang, Miata here, little headlights up, another one just leaving us. Mustang, this is kind of cool. Plymouth, check that out, really great. Volkswagen, another Porsche, another Ferrari, such a lovely red, intense colour. BMW, that lovely Corvette with a 427 in it. It's kind of cool, look at that, 400, 4-barrel, great looking car. Ferrari, 442. I've pointed this out before, kind of cool. This car was obviously designed for performance. The inner wheels are actually like a composite, like a plastic, not a metal on this thing, I believe, to drop the weight down, which for that era was kind of cool. 68 Camaro, because I just walked past the 67, easy way to tell the 68. They actually have side markers, 67 doesn't, and they don't have corner windows, which the 67 did. El Camino, Gen 5 Camaro, Chevelle, Thunderbird. This is kind of cool. Look at that. 352. Oh, great old station wagon.
How long has this show been going on here?
I think we've been going for probably about 7 months. I think, yeah. Challenger. 340, great looking car. Another Corvette. Another C7. And a beautiful looking boxer dog. Corvette. Here's this barn find, this beautiful 1954 Citroen Traction Avant Light 15. Great looking car, such great history. I love all of the, you know, how authentic this old vehicle is. It is absolutely beautiful. Look at the interior in there. Let's get some light in there. See it. Such a little car, but just wonderful, wonderful car. Next to it, of course, we've got this great old Ford. This belongs to John. Our Mercedes. El Camino with a 396. Ford, the Corvette. These local guys are always coming in and appreciate the support. Mustang and that Paxton supercharger. Subaru. And there's some serious plumbing going on in this little guy. And Volkswagen, and a really nice little Porsche, and then a really nice looking Thunderbird down here. Lovely green. Over this side, M5 V12 BMW 850. Really underrated car of their time. Incredible engine in those things, really, really good. Over to a really, I think is one of the prettiest cars at the moment, this beautiful Alfa Romeo. Such wonderful lines and very, very sympathetic to the original whole Alfa Romeo look. I mean, even the wheels look like what they were doing in the Alfa Studs back, you know, in the late 60s, early 70s. Corvette, another Thunderbird. Corvette, another one. TR5 Triumph, wonderful car, British racing green. Here's something that came in earlier. Look at this fire truck, just wonderful. Look at this. Somebody has put so much time and effort into restoring this beautiful old thing. I wonder if it actually came with an automatic originally. I kind of doubt it, but such a great looking old fire truck. The camera is not going to do it justice, I don't think, but it's just such a beautiful thing. Look at all the attention to detail in here. Look at that. What an amazing thing. An amazing thing. Wow, that's great. Moving along, we've got a little Volkswagen. What a neat little engine bay this thing's got. Really nicely done. And another Corvette, Mustang Supra. Toyota's foray into the sort of the performance market. Corvette. Got lots of Corvettes today. Subaru R32 Skyline, right-hand drive, incredible car. That amazing turbocharged engine that Nissan sort of became famous for.
Keep talking.
Wonderful Chevy. John's thing, which is just so immaculate. Love that thing. Cobra replica. Mustang. A great little Austin Healey. Look at that. Wow. This wonderful Volvo. I said Volkswagen. Volvo 122S. Actually for sale, 1967. Just Corvette and a Ranchero, a Ford. What we'd call in Australia a ute, which was the idea of having a front end that was like a sedan and a back end you could load stuff into. GTI, another Volkswagen here. Okay, so line up with the guys. I love the fact that we get these different clubs and different groups of friends coming here together that are all passionate about their specific cars. Infinity, this truck that I've spoken about before, just incredible, so amazingly engineered. You know, obviously on air ride, but just every single angle that you look at this thing, it's you know, just the detail, all the front end, the suspension that's been put on it, just great. I love the fact they built an engine cover and put GMC on it. They haven't left. It's obviously an LS engine. Funny, people will refer to LS engines as a Chev, like an LS3 or whatever. That's not entirely true. They're a GM engine. If you look at a lot of the engines, great example is the LSA that was used in the ZL1 Camaro, exactly the same engine as they used in the Cadillac CTS-V in the last model. So GM really, their engines are GM, they're not Chev, they're not necessarily Pontiac or as they used to be, or GMC. They're almost generic across the brand. Okay, moving right along. I mentioned before about the difference between a 56 and a 55. Here's the 55 with those sort of fingernail indicators, how you can tell the difference between the two. Beautiful orange, small block in there by the look of it. Yep, running a Holly on it. Really great colour. Next to it, this is really cool. Check this out. Actually, we'll have a look under the hood. Look at that. Now, for me, one of the best things about cars and coffee is seeing very different things. And this big Packard straight 8 that was built, this particular vehicle, you know, you imagine the weight of that thing, huge. Why they had such long noses on them, but look at that. It's just incredible. It's just such a great looking car. Such imposing lines. Designed by humans, not by computers back in those days. You know, no regard for wind tunnels, people having a shot at what they believe were aerodynamics. We've got here a little Toyota and a Beetle and a really nice couple of BMWs, this guy and then this 2002, which is just here, which is such a great little car. Excuse me guys, a couple of Mustangs, and coming over here we've got a Challenger,
that's the one,
and Corvette. Really interesting orange. Great old Buick. Look at that. Wonderful. Really, really good. So this thing pulled in. This gentleman here brought this thing in. Absolutely tough as. You said this was a 598?
Yes, it is.
598. And is it a dart block or is it a...
It's a dart Big M.
Yeah, right. Just sounded so tough. Absolutely tough as tough can be.
Dart Big M. It's got a Doug Nash transmission that was sent over to Liberty Gears, face plated. Chris Alston, Fab 9 rear end. Strange third member axles.
Yeah.
It's fun.
And the really interesting thing I love a lot about these big blocks, if you look at the back, there's a plate that's blocking off where the distributor traditionally goes on small block and big block shafts. With a lot of these high performance cars, you'll notice the drop, there's actually it's probably a belt drive, I'd imagine, at the front to run the distributor off the front of this thing, and then obviously into the core pack at the front. But just serious piece of engine. Have you dynoed it?
1042.
Wow. And that's all motor. That's not any. There's no squirt. So that's why I love big blocks. Thanks for bringing it along. I appreciate it. It sounded amazing.
It's a real sleeper.
Over 1,000 horsepower, all engine. Let that sink in for a moment. Over 1,000 horsepower, all engine. We've only got a couple of cars here like that. The other one, of course, is Bob's 55 that he brings along. Amazing. Very, very cool. Also running a dart big block, same sort of similar configuration with the front drive on the distributor. Chevy truck, Porsche, one of the first shifts away Porsche in this V8 front engine car. There were a lot of the purists at the time were flabbergasted that Porsche would do this, but it's become a real interesting, iconic part of their history. And of course, now we know that Porsche requires more than the traditional 911 to be profitable. I mean, they make all their money out of the Macan and the Cayman and everything else, but that was a really interesting shift away from the traditional. A 928 like that, the 924, which wasn't as good. The 944, which is a great car, especially when they ran that turbo on it. But 928, that V8, bulletproof engine. BMW, Chevelle, Chevy truck. I guess it's a Chevy, not a GMC. That small block in there. A couple of Porsches side by side. Another great old Ford truck just starting up here. Great sound. Nice. Mercedes, WRX, Maserati. It's a lovely car. Porsche Turbo. This has got the, from memory, this is actually the slant nose on this thing. So if it's genuine, it's a very, very, very collectible car. A lot of people did that after the market. I think this one is genuine. Great looking car. Very, very collectible. Just slightly different than the standard 930 turbo of the time. 5.2i Wagon. BMW, another one. Focus ST. Genesis running that V8 that sort of changed people's perception of them. Look at that, that's an interesting looking Cobra. Nice and clean. The golden Impala. A couple of BMWs, another one up here, and another one. Got a row of the BMWs. Really interesting looking one up here for the era. Check this out. Somebody's painted it flat black. It's a great looking Mercedes. Volkswagen. This Volkswagen pulled in really, really cool. He got all of the windshield, the way it folds out, to be. This is all custom built, so very similar to the combis of the time, but really, really cool the way he's done that. A lot of respect for people that spend the time coming up with a cool idea like that and engineering it. Very cool. There goes that 55 we saw before. Toyota, a G-Wagon, Mercedes, Porsche, and then a couple of Mustangs. A great old van up here. It's really, really good. Korea van, how great's that? And then a Porsche at the end as well. Nice old Targa. Okay, swinging around, we've got quite a few FRS/BRZ/Toyota 86s here this morning. Here's one of them.
I don't know the guys, you're not going to
Another one,
offend me.
little Z car, another Subaru BRZ. Genuine Z28, 69. Great car. Of course, the standout of these was that 302 cubic inch engine, which they did for racing, to be able to a certain size. Mercedes, Audi, Volkswagen, Corvette, Another Audi. Serious truck here. This guy, I really wish we put a lift kit in it. It's a bit low. That's amazing. For sale too. So if you feel like you've got neighbours that are annoying you and you want to drive over the neighbours, that's probably a good investment. Dodge. Nice Jeep. It's running 40-inch tyres. The owner was telling me. Really great looking thing. Really nice ARB headlights in the front. Front bar, really great looking thing. Another Subaru VRZ, Mustang Viper. Sad they killed the Viper, but you know, I suppose they've got the moving in different areas and things like the Hellcat and the Demon. Corvette, Nissan Skyline, Skyline, another Skyline GTR 35. And moving through here. Good morning. One of the first little Teslas that was, of course, based on a Lotus. There's another Tesla, a Charger 300C Z01 Camaro running that beautiful LSA engine. Another Corvette, Camaro, sorry. Challenger and another Camaro. And Porsche, Mustang. And something interesting down there. I don't know what that is, so let's have a look at the little Porsche. So we roll through here. Little Nissan, and then this is a Ford Escort. So we had these in Australia. I think they're originally a British derived car, little Ford Escort. They were an unexciting car in their standard form, but they did do a couple of versions. One was an RS, which was a slightly later model, but there were Lotus derived engines put in these as well. So I believe they were overhead cam engines. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. The Lotus engined cars were spectacular. You know, back in the days when rally cars were, or race cars were little cars like this, the Lotus derived engine was great. There was a couple of models. There was the Escort, then there was a slightly bigger Cortina, which also had that as well. We've got a BMW. We've got that doesn't make any sense to me. Somebody's put a Ferrari badge on a Prius. And we have the Jay, who's one of our photographers, this man over here and Robert are our two in-house photographers, and you are greatly appreciated. So I'm sure I speak on behalf of everybody that comes here, Jay. Thank you for the wonderful job you do with the photography.
Thank you.
Thanks. Mustang, great guys. We're so fortunate to have both Jay and Robert who are doing our photography. For them, they're not getting paid for it. It's just, you know, something they do out of the love of it, and we're just so fortunate to have them as part of our team. Challenger, this is cool. Big old Buick, and next to another one, so imposing. You know, you'd look at this thing and go, oh, yeah, that's just a Volkswagen Passat. Very unexciting until you come and have a look under here, and this is actually the W8. So it's an interesting configuration. It's not a V8, and yet it still runs a single crank. What they do is they have the heads, it still only has two heads, but the heads accommodate the pistons in like an offset configuration. So rather than a V8 where everything is running symmetrical and a bank of 4 and a bank of 4, this has 1, 2, and then a sort of offset, another 2, and the same on the other side. So even though it appears to be a V8, they're actually a W configuration. And there is some relationship, believe it or not, to the Bugatti W16 as well. So really nice looking Nissan Patrol. We used to have a lot of these in Australia. Interesting thing, this is actually right-hand drive as well. So this has probably come from somewhere like Australia or New Zealand, or potentially from the UK. Really nice looking. I guess it's a 240Z. Check this out, these side draft. They're not Webers, they're actually Solex. They look very similar to a Weber, but they're actually Solex with these ram tubes on there. It looks so good. Love the way they've built this plate. I guess they can drop an air cleaner body over the top of it just to keep the dirt and dust out of it. But the other reason too is it keeps the heat from coming up, from radiating up from underneath it. Because of course it isn't a crossflow engine, which means the intake is at the same place as the exhaust. You've got the exhaust down there, and you don't want that heat coming up into the manifold, intake manifold. Nissan, and another one, Z-Car, another little Datsun, great car, Toyota. Another one. This is pretty impressive looking thing. Check this out. So this thing did not come out with this engine. Unbelievable. Really nicely done with roll cage. Racing seats in there, and then serious engine, turbo, big intercooler, really nicely done. next to it also another newer motor, also turbo, and a Garrett turbo on this guy, which is really cool. Tundra, Audi R8. This one's running the V8. We looked before at the other one that had the V10, that Lamborghini, they shared with Lamborghini. Corvette, another Corvette. A lot of the purists didn't like it when Audi got involved with Lamborghini, but the fact of the matter is they are now a much more reliable car than they ever were, and it's a cool thing. A Subaru and a BMW, a great looking old Jaguar here. How great's this looking thing? Y wheels done in black, which I think is really cool. Beautiful wood grain, walnut interior. Anybody who I mentioned before, the Grand Tour, which is of course the show that the guys from Top Gear went on to do, they actually destroyed a Jaguar a little bit later than this. It was one of the first XJs. I don't know that I'm so happy about destroying such a classic car. BMW, Mercedes, Subaru, Infiniti. Big following for these guys. It's amazing the number of people these have got a real cult following, which is cool. Once again, cars are very, very much about personal taste, and I don't think you should ever judge somebody by the type of car they go and want to do work to. As far as I'm concerned, I'd just as soon as see somebody who wants to modify a car like this and have fun with it as someone who can, you know, turns up in an exotic. They're both, there's nothing wrong with either of them, you know. ZR1, that I think had that Lotus derived or designed engine, quad cams, Charger, Mustang, and a couple of Subis next to each other. BMW running those M3 wheels. It's saying it might be an M3 actually. Firebird. Volvo. I talked about this the other day. This is the Polestar. You can tell by the colour, the Polestar badge on it. I went for a ride in one of these the other day with my good friend William, who works for Volvo. Such a sleeper. Big horsepower for the size of the car. Incredible stopping power, and of course Volvo are doing this thing these days where they actually run a supercharger and a turbocharger on their engines. It's a really interesting way of making sure that you have instant power underfoot with the supercharger, and then the efficiencies that are demanded by all the emissions. That's it for another week at South OC Cars and Coffee. Thanks everybody for bringing out the great cars, the spectators for coming along, and of course Ruby's for the coffee and the donuts, and the outlets for letting us be here. I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks. I'm actually traveling overseas for work, but James will still be here, and he's going to walk around and shoot some video for us that we can edit and get up again. Make sure you're back here next week for another amazing South OC Cars and Coffee. Have a great week.